After being summoned to another realm with his entire class, Hajime winds up all alone in the pit of the Great Orcus Labyrinth. Trouble appears shortly in the form of a vicious bear who ruthlessly tears off Hajime's left arms and eats it. Hajime barely makes it by transmuting his way deep into the ground. With a bit of protagonist luck, Hajime finds himself directly beneath a divinity stone that is holy enough to save his butt. As he chugs down the water, it gives him vitality to cope with the pain in his missing arm. Alone and resentful at his terrible fate, Hajime starts having flashbacks which reveal his life before he fell into the abyss. He is shown as the weak link who gets bullied and is pretty much useless in combat with his power of transmutation. He ends up in the pit after trying to save his classmate, Shirasaki, from a behemoth. As the flashback ends, he realizes that he was backstabbed by one of his own teammates. Fired up with anger and intense hunger, he hunts down a wolf and eats it. Hajime's cells combust with the cells of the monster he ate, making him double down in pain. The only thing that saves him is the holy water. Hajime transforms into a hybrid of monster and human. He realizes that upon eating monsters he levels up. He designs a gun and hunts down the bear for retribution. After consuming the bear, Hajime seeks a way out. Desperate to return home, Hajime decides to make his way by going down in the labyrinth. After killing and adding new monsters to his food palette, Hajime reaches the 50th floor where he comes across a door. After contemplating for a while, he decides to transmute the door to open up. When he makes an attempt to transmute, two giant cyclops next to the door come alive and immediately start attacking Hajime. He quickly takes down one cyclop, but the other one is not as slow as his friend and actually gives Hajime a hard time with its defensive magic. But no threat is too great for the wimp turned into a badass. He used a gun to shoot the eye of the cyclop, eliminating him. After inspecting the cyclops' corpse for a later meal, he finds 2 mana stones inside their bodies. He uses the stones to unlock the door and finds a naked blonde lowly stuck inside a cube. The girl looks at Hajime and says, "Help me, stepbro, I'm stuck." She reveals that she hails from a powerful line of vampires and was betrayed by her people. After hearing this, Hajime uses his power to break free the girl. Now free from captivity, the girl asks Hajime to give her a name, and after pondering, he names her Yugi after the moon. Hajime and Yugi bond over their shares of betrayal as they barely escape from a sudden shower of projectiles. On the other hand, Hajime's classmates are planning their comeback at the labyrinth. A gigantic scorpion with 4 claws and 2 tails drops from the ceiling to continue its assault on Hajime and Yugi. To take down such a massive threat, Hajime coordinates his attack with Yugi's magic. Together, the two successfully kill the overgrown bug. As they continue their descent into the labyrinth, Yugi asks Hajime how he ended up here. Hajime then narrates his tale of betrayal, making Yugi tear up. Hajime expresses his yearning to return home, which makes Yugi sad. Upon noticing, Hajime offers Yugi to come with him. Hajime learns from Yugi about the war between Mavericks and gods. When the Mavericks began to lose the war, they created labyrinths to seek refuge. Yugi says that if they find a Maverick, they'll find their way out. Suddenly, the two are attacked by a group of monsters under the control of a flower monster. As Hajime is running with Yugi on his back, they are met with the flower monster who takes a hold of Yugi, using her to attack Hajime. Yugi urges Hajime to attack without worrying about her. Hajime opens his fire that goes past Yugi, hitting the flower monster directly. After killing the monster, Yugi gets mad at Hajime for shooting at her without hesitation. After making it to level 100, Hajime and Yugi come across an extravagant door. As they make their way inside, hoping to have found the Maverick's lair. Suddenly, an ominous magical circle appears at the ground, making Hajime prepare for another battle. A giant Hydra appears with each head possessing different powers. Hajime and Yugi are relentlessly attacked. The Hydra even manages to put Yugi in an Itachi-style genjutsu, making her tear up between the battle. Hajime rushes to her aid, kissing her to wake her up. He promises Yugi they're going to go home together, although that doesn't last for long as Hajime gets brutally hit by the Hydra. Yugi carries the battle the best she can, but just when she's about to be overpowered, Hajime rises from the dead in a desperate attempt to save his beloved. Naturally, the two beat the overpowered Hydra after facing a few casualties. Back at the Halig Kingdom, their homeroom teacher Aiko confronts Pope about sending her students to fight without their will. She threatens the Pope that she will withdraw her help and skills of the farmer for the kingdom. Coming to an understanding, the Pope agrees to let the students fight only at their will. At the labyrinth, Hajime's classmates are standing at the same spot where they lost Hajime. Shirasaki's ejection doesn't go unseen by her peers. Kuki pushes Shirasaki to move ahead. Ignoring Kuki, Shirasaki's female friends come forth to console her. A naked Hajime wakes up on a bed with Yugi lying next to him, also naked. Looks like the monster killing and the sob story paid off. Yugi tells Hajime that he took a serious hit, so she found a bed and fed him with holy water. Together, the two of them explore their surroundings, which happens to be a mansion. On the other hand, Hajame's classmates have a face-off with the behemoth. Stronger than ever, with equal efforts, they finally manage to put an end to the monster. Back at the mansion, Hajime and Yui enter a room with a magical circle drawn on the floor and a corpse sitting on the chair, giving the implication that he died waiting for someone. Believing the circle is the key back to home, Hajime steps into it. The circle activates the ghost of the Maverick. The Maverick tells Hajime that he had been waiting for someone to conquer the labyrinth. He grants Hajime his power and knowledge of ancient magic, telling him to do whatever he pleases with his newfound powers. After the ghost disappears, Hajime realizes that the Mavericks were just liberators of the world. He decides to stay and unlock more secrets of the mansion. 2 months go by in learning and skinny dipping together. Equipped with sweat gears and ancient magic, Hajime and Yui are ready to face anyone who dares come in their path. Hajime and Yui arrive at the surface only to be greeted with an annoying bunny girl, Shia, who claims to have been waiting for the two. Shia reveals that she's part monster and has the ability to see the future. She begs and pleads with Hajime to rescue her people because they can't fend for themselves. To convince Hajime, she gushes about her beauty and her big bunny breasts. But since Hajime isn't a simp, he outright refuses. After some more convincing, Shia strikes a deal with Hajime that involves her navigating the next labyrinth, surrounded by a giant fog that causes people to lose direction. Upon meeting the bunny people, Yui and Hajime get to work, slaying monsters left and right. Then the two help the people to relocate somewhere safe. When it's time to go, the rabbits start begging Hajime to help them get stronger. Despite being irritated, Hajime helps the rabbits train while Shiga trains with Yui. Very quickly, the timid rabbits evolve into buff macho rabbits that anyone would want to stay clear of. The clan of rabbits then guide Hajime and Yui to a giant tree which requires the power of regeneration and a beacon formed of bonds to open its pathway. Hajime comes to the realization that he needs to explore other labyrinths first. As the duo is heading out, Yui asks Hajime to bring Shia along as she landed a scratch on her face during her training session. And so Shia is welcomed with closed arms. Shia locates the entrance of Milady Risen's labyrinth. The speciality of this labyrinth is that external magic is reduced. Shia, being the underdog, paves the way with her body reinforcement magic. After clearing out the traps, the group find themselves back at the entrance. Realizing that they've been played by Milady, the group is hell-bent on conquering the labyrinth. In the Haley Kingdom, some students have refused to join Kupi's party out of fear caused by Hajime's presumed death. One of the students, Yuga, announces that she has decided to join Aiko, leaving the other students to decide for themselves. At the labyrinth, the group makes it to the final stage where they have to defeat autonomous armored suits. After putting her hammer to a good use, the group has a face-off with Milady, who is in a giant armored suit. Fight ensues after Hajime discloses his goals upon Milady's inquiry. Shia delivers the final blow to Milady's core. In her last moments, Milady warns the lot to be careful of the bastard gods, indicating a future fight. As the group is ready to collect what Milady's lair has to offer, they're greeted by Milady in a harmless form. After collecting Milady's gravity magic, the group is flushed out. When they appear at the surface, Hajime rescues Shia from the water by giving her CPR. Shiva takes her chance to passionately kiss Hajime. Hajime, being the Chad that he is, forcefully removes Shia and throws her back in the water. The Adventurers Guild summons Hajime's group to find missing adventurers, including a noble's son. Hajime begrudgingly takes up the job. As they're traveling to a nearby village, Hajime has a run-in with his classmates and teacher, Aiko. Upon seeing Hajime, Aiko gets sentimental and confronts him about his whereabouts. The reunion is cut short when Aiko's questions are met with inimical shrugs. Aiko finally breaks at the disrespect and lectures Hajime. The Templar Knight, observing the commotion, decides to step in. He approaches Hajime's table and throws disdainful remarks at Yui and Shia. After a warning call, Hajime opens fire at him, injuring his shoulder. At night, Hajime sneaks into Aiko's room to disclose the truth about the war against the demons. Centuries ago, some humans discovered that god Ehit was toying with the humans for amusement. The group came to be known as the Liberators, who wished to liberate humans from Ehit's tyranny. But unfortunately, Ehit made the first move by using the church to label the Liberators as heretics and had them renamed as the Mavericks. Ostracized by society, the Liberators built labyrinths to preserve their magic. When morning comes, Aiko and his classmates insist on helping him on the search mission. Hajime reluctantly agrees. Once in the mountains, Hajime uses transmuted drones connected with his Jewel Eye to search for the lost adventures. After locating the only survivor, Will, the nobleman's son, who reveals that his friends were butchered by a dragon. Just when Hajime and the rest leave for home, they're attacked by the dragon. Knocking down the dragon with the help of Shia, Hajime inserts a sword in the dragon's rear end. The dragon wails in pain with a lady-like voice, making it known that she's a female dragonborn, capable of turning human. The dragon reveals that she was under the influence of a cloaked man's spell who ordered her to hunt Will. The only thing that saves the dragon from having a sword lodged up her ass is Yui's faith in her words. To seek repentance, the dragon offers to help them stop the masked assailant. After removing the sword from her behind, the dragon shifts into a beautiful woman named Tio. Tio shamefully admits that she enjoyed the pain of having a sword thrusted inside her. After blurting out her sinful confession, Tio reveals that the masked man plans on attacking a farming village with his horde of monsters. Being the strongest man in sight, everybody looks at Hajime to save the day, but he simply shrugs and collects Will as per his required task. After playing the role of a ruthless jerk for a minute, Hajime agrees to help eradicate the army of monsters. Tito brazenly offers herself to Hajime, but as established from previous episodes, Hajime is an alpha male who doesn't get swayed by women easily, so he coldly rejects Tio's advances. As the army of monsters approaches the village, Hajime gives a speech where he declares Aiko as the goddess of farming, so she can have leverage against the people. He also calls himself the sword and shield of the goddess Aiko. Together with Shia, Yui, and Tio in tow, Hajime unleashes hell upon the monsters. They clear out monsters in search of the cloaked man that's controlling them. It doesn't take long for Hajime to locate the hooded assailant. Shocked to see the culprit behind the hood, Hajime drives him back to where Aiko and the rest are waiting for his safe return. Aiko is devastated to find out that the cause of massive destruction is one of her students, Shimizu, who went missing. Upon inquiring, Shimizu breaks down and says that he wanted to prove to everyone just how special he was, so he ventured into the mountains where he met with demons who saw potential in him, and tasked him to kill his teacher. Shimizu makes another attempt at Aiko's life, but this time Hajime finishes him off with his gun. After giving an edgy speech of being unmerciful to Aiko, Hajime takes his leave. Returning back to Furin with an additional member, Tio, Hajime and Shia go out on a date. The two end up going to the aquarium while Tio and Yui spend some quality time in the streets of Furin. Shia and Hajime come across a talking fish, Layman, who quickly bonds with the two. Hajime decides to help Layman go back to the sea. When reunited with the ocean, Layman thanks him and informs him about a mermaid that was in captivity with him. Not making much of the information, the two are back in the city where Hajime detects a beastman's presence from the sewerage. As the two venture down, they coincidentally come across a young mermaid named Miu. Hajime's tough exterior seems to crumble with Miu in his care. After cleaning and feeding her, Hajime leaves a crying Miu with the town's watch. Suddenly, the guardhouse explodes. Hajime arrives as quickly as possible, but Miu has already been kidnapped, and the slavers have left him a message asking him to bring Shia if he wishes to keep Miu safe. The hunt for slavers begin with Tio and Yui backing Shia and Hajime. After locating the hideout, Hajime executes the boss and rescues Miu. He later blows up the place, leaving no room for atonement. Maternal instincts kick in when the girls see Miu calling Hajime Papa. Collectively, they ask Hajime to make babies with them. Hajime better load up his gun for this ride. Hajime reminisces about the past now that he's back in the town where he was summoned first along with his classmates. While visiting the Adventurers Guild, he has a surprise reunion with his classmate Endo, who is in a panicked state. After meeting with Hajime, Endo begs for his help to save his old classmates from a demon named Catalia. Hajime, like always, doesn't take a second to show his bitterness towards his ex-friends. After all, betrayal does that to you. In the labyrinth, Kuki's party is ambushed by Catalia and her army of monsters. Catalia gives them the option to join the demons, but they refuse. As the fight begins, Kuki's party quickly realize that no-bell choices lead to some serious ass-whooping after their classmate gets severely injured. Meanwhile, as Endo awaits an answer from Hajime, he unintentionally upsets Miu, causing her to cry. This makes Hajime mad as he has finally warmed up to the role of a father. After witnessing the injury of their classmate, Hiyama suggests joining hands with the demon. Kuki remains unmoved until he witnesses the fall of their captain Meld. Fueled with rage, Kuki advances with full force at Catalia, but when it's time to strike, he hesitates when he notices Catalia's locket with a picture of her lover. Being the demon that she is, Catalia injures Kuki while Shizuku and Shirasaki prepare to die after being overpowered. Just then, Hajime makes a protagonist entrance and saves the girls by slaying the monsters. After making a spark plug entrance with his harem and shocking his classmates, he easily takes out Catalia's monsters and foresees her attacks, giving him the upper hand in the battle. After giving a chance to surrender, which is met by a cocky refusal by Catalia, Hajime rains hell on her. Hiyama's sweat drops at the sight of Hajime, knowing that the man he attempted to murder has not only appeared out of the blue, but has gotten 10 times stronger. When Catalia finds herself overpowered, she attempts to run, but Hajime captures her and tortures her for information. He learns that a demon has cleared a labyrinth and is utilizing its ancient magic to create a monster army. After getting what he wants, he kills Catalia, earning an outraged protest from Kuki. Hajime counters it by saying that the reason why he's mad is because he didn't have the guts to kill her. After getting his ass handed by Hajime, Kuki falls back. Appearing out of the labyrinth, Shirasaki confesses her love for Hajime and tearfully apologizes for not saving him before. Hajime turns her down by saying that he has eyes for Yui only. Despite being turned down, Shirasaki insists on joining Hajime to prove her love. Together with Shirasaki, Hajime leaves in his transmuted SUV determined to make it back home. After their brush with death, the heroes return back to Haled Kingdom, where they're welcomed warmly by Princess Liliana. The encounter with Hajime has left the heroes with a bittersweet taste. Mostly bitter for Hiyama and Kuki, who seems to be wallowing in despair after Shirasaki left with Hajime. Driving through the Grune Desert, where the only source of entertainment is a cat fight between Shirasaki and Yui over who knows Hajime the best. First he bags all the women and now they're even fighting over him. Hajime is truly winning in life. Shirasaki shames Yui for not knowing Hajime's favorite anime. Yui counters her by saying that she knows what Hajime likes best in bed, hitting Shirasaki where it hurts. Before Yui has the chance to get in lewd details, trouble appears in the form of famished sandworms. Hajime utilizes the inbuilt weapons of the SUV to eliminate the sandworms. After eliminating the threat, the group notices a man lying in the desert. Being the only healer present, Shirasaki inspects the man closely and realizes that his ailment is caused by overloaded mana in his system. Shirasaki uses her magic to heal the man, which helps him regain consciousness. The man introduces himself as Bize, the son of Ankaji's duke. Bize explains that Ankaji's water supply has been compromised, causing the people to develop a lethal buildup of mana. A new quest presents itself as Hajime and his girls set out to save the people of Ankaji. Hajime and his squad arrive in Ankaji, where he builds a temporary water reservoir. Yui does most of the toiling with her complex spells. In her weakened state, Yui snacks on Hajime's blood, which later turns into a smooch session. After tackling the issue of fresh water, Hajime proceeds to clear out the polluted oasis of Ankaji. Through his demon eye, he detects a monster lurking inside the water. With his trusted gun, Hajime quickly slays the monster. As the people of Ankaji are in dire need for a healer to look after those ridden with the illness, Shirasaki decides to stay behind and tend to the people. After leaving Miu in her care, Hajime, Shia, Yui, and Tio advance towards the Grand Grune volcano to find the cure for the people of Ankaji. The real quest begins when Hajime and gang pave the way deeper into the labyrinth that's quite literally a hell zone with lava beds and monsters made of fire. With an army of snakes standing in their way, Hajime, Shia, Yui, and Tio get into fighting mode, believing that the battle will be easy peasy lemon squeezy, but with the scorching heat and myriad of snakes, the fight is anything but easy. Tio realizes that liberators have designed each labyrinth with specific challenges that will prove handy in a war against gods. The team gets in gear, massacring the army of snakes. The episode ends in a cliffhanger when Hajime gets bamboozled by a light force. Hajime is heavily injured. Fry declares that after acquiring ancient magic, God spoke to him and made him his apostle. So as God's apostle, he must eliminate Hajime as he poses a threat to gods. It's no surprise that the gods want Hajime dead after he openly declared to wipe them out. The fight sequence prevails and Hajime and his girls find themselves to be overwhelmed by Frayed, but luckily Hajime has Tio the Dragonborn up his sleeves. Through a flashback, we get a glimpse of Tio's past. In her father's final moments, he reveals that Dragonborns must remain in hiding as they're now an enemy of the gods until they find a worthy purpose to align themselves with. Looks like Tio has found her purpose. To save her master, she transforms into a dragon, unleashing her magic on Frayed and his monsters. After the pivotal role played by Tio, Frayed decides to retract, but before he goes, he dismantles a stone that kept the volcanoes of Grune dormant. Now with the rise in eruptions, Hajime orders Tio to fly out alone. Back at the royal palace of Haled Kingdom, Liliana informs Shizuku that the king wishes for Kuki to become stronger as the demon army poses a serious threat. She also tells Shizuku that the king is planning to label Hajime a heretic. In the forest, Hiyama converses with an unseen woman who urges him to finish off Hajime and get Shirasaki back. Meanwhile, Hajime wakes up with the open sea at sight. A flashback reveals the chain of events that followed after Tio's departure from the volcanoes of Grune. After Hajime collects the ancient magic of the labyrinth, he summons a submarine he had previously crafted, but the flow of lava drags them deeper. One of the perks of being a protagonist is that despite being swept by a lava, you somehow miraculously come out alive from it. Surviving a lava definitely calls for celebration. So after the flashback unfolds, Yui and Hajime shive on the submarine. Shirasaki, Tio, and Miu have a tearful reunion with Hajime in the middle of the ocean, and together the group arrives at the city of Eraisen, home to Miu's mother. After he reunites Miu with her mother, Hajime manages to attract a widowed hot merman who is so overcome by gratitude that she offers herself to help him in his cause. At the royal palace, Shizuku has a run-in with her teacher. As the two sit down for a chat, Aiko reveals that the church has officially branded Hajime as a heretic for refusing the orders. She also says that the king and nobles are behaving strangely. Aiko informs Shizuku about the ulterior motives of God Ehit that Hajime had disclosed to her during their meetup. Team Hajime departs the city of Arisen to conquer the sunken ruins of Melusine. Hajime utilizes the magical artifact collected from the Great Grun volcano to create an underground entrance in the ocean. As the lot advance towards the labyrinth, they're faced with low-tier monsters which are easily slayed by Hajime and his crew. Hajime exclaims that the monsters were way too easy to kill. Seconds later, the lot is confronted by a regenerating monster. The monster proves a worthy opponent without any weaklings to hit. The group is forced to retrieve. The forced retrieval causes Yui, Shia, and Tio to be separated from Hajime and Shirasaki, who was previously seen sulking and apologizing for her lack of contribution to the team. Far from the rest of their group, Hajime and Shirasaki wind up in an illusion of a war where they have to battle with ghost pirates. After fighting the pirates, Hajime confronts Shirasaki about her behavior. He bluntly tells Shirasaki that Yui will always be special, and if that fills her with defeat, then she should leave him alone. At the palace, Aiko gets kidnapped by an evil nun for a treacherous plan. As Hajime and Shirasaki venture deeper into the labyrinth, they're sucked into another illusion consisting of a post-war celebration where beastmen, humans, and demons are all enjoying together. A king enters with a masked escort and addresses everyone with love until malice sets on his face and he orders the execution of demons and beastmen in the name of God Ed. When the gnarly illusion ends, Shirasaki's frightful state doesn't go unnoticed by Hajime. After pulling herself together, the two advance forward into the labyrinth, where a surprise trap lands Shirasaki to plummet. As Hajime rushes to her aid, he notices a change of demeanor in Shirasaki, making him pull his gun at her. Discovering that magic ammunition works as a kryptonite for whatever entity that possessed Shirasaki, Hajime doesn't hesitate to shoot Shirasaki in the face, which in a twisted way signifies his care for Shirasaki. Just when Shirasaki regains control of her body, she tends to important matters at hand, which is of course giving Hajime a smooch. She declares that she's willing to endure the jealousy just to be with him. With a newfound understanding between the two, they appear at the end of the labyrinth where they regroup with Yui, Shia, and Tio. After collecting the magical artifact of the sunken ruins, the group is flushed out in the sea through eviction magic. The same monster attacks them, and to defeat it, Hajime needs time. Layman the fish makes an entrance and buys Hajime time for him to shoot missiles at the monster. After their quest at the sunken ruins, the group is back in Arisen. Once again, Hajime celebrates his victory by banging Yui. He's greeted by Miu, who innocently asks him why he's always naked with Yui. After breakfast, the girls take Miu for a game of tag by the ocean. While the girls dressed in bikinis are a sight for sore eyes, Hajime's thoughts are preoccupied by how he's going to bid goodbye to Miu. As Hajime is lost in his thoughts, Miu's mother emerges from the water and thanks Hajime for bringing Miu back. She tells Hajime that he has done enough and he shouldn't worry about leaving Miu, as she already knows that farewell is soon to come. The farewell is sweet and tearful. Overcome by his love for Miu, Hajime promises her that he'll take her with him back to Japan. At the Haley Kingdom, the king and the knights seem to be under a void spell, as Mel dubbed it after his investigation. Meanwhile, Aiko is locked up by the mysterious nun who seems to be following orders of her master. After writing a letter to Hajime informing him of the situation, Mel gets ambushed by Hiyama, who had been conniving with the Void. Hiyama and his co-conspirator that lurks in the shadows are successful in their pursuit of executing Captain Meld with the help of a new character, Noit. Hajime and his crew coincidentally bump into Princess Liliana, whose caravan had been attacked by bandits. With little insistence from Kaori, Hajime runs over the bandits with his SUV. After quickly taking out the bandits, Liliana thanks her lady luck for bumping into Hajime and Kaori. At first glance, Hajime fails to recognize Liliana, which offends her, but she quickly gets over it as there are pressing matters to tend to. She informs Hajime and Shirasaki about Aiko's kidnapping by the nun, as she was the only one that witnessed it. Her quick thinking led her to be cautious around the palace, making her flee to seek out help from Hajime. Hajime decides to help Miss Aiko, for old time's sake and for his own personal gain, as the Divine Mountain where Aiko is kept is a labyrinth. At the Divine Mountain, Aiko is bound by shackles that block her magic. Lost in her worry for her students, she subconsciously rubs her lips and calls out for Hajime, who appears out of the blue. After coming out of her startled state, she expresses her gratitude and apologizes for her rudeness that followed after Shimizu's death. Suddenly, Hajime's devil eye detects the advancement of demon troops in the Halid Kingdom. Just when they are about to leave the cell, they're bamboozled by an attack from Noit, who introduces herself as the Apostle of God. After bailing on Liliana in the capital city of Halid Kingdom, Yui and Shia go their separate ways to fight the representatives of the demon army. as Shia faces Mikhail, whose rancor for her is visible through his attacks. Shia confronts him after noting that his hatred seems more personal. Mikhail declares that he's here to avenge Catalia's death. Shia pays no heed to his sob story and rains down hell on him with a giant kendama. Without breaking into sweat, Shia wraps up the fight by sending Mikhail to his lover. With murderous intent, Yui takes on Freyed, who has come prepared after his last run-in. Freyed dispenses absods that nullify Yui's lightning magic, believing that it's game over for her, but the game is anything but over as Yui summons a covey of spiritual dragons to take out most of Freyd's monster troops. Without wasting any time, Freyed uses Uranos to impale Yui. The look of triumph on his face vanishes when he notices Yui smirking, and within seconds Freyed is bamboozled by a restoration spell, causing him to spill blood everywhere. Nonetheless, he manages to escape from Yui after his soldiers buy him time. At the Divine Mountains, Noit continues her series of attacks, which Hajime of course bounces with ease despite carrying Aiko in her arms. Tio shows up in her dragon form and takes away the additional weight of Aiko. With the will of gods by her side, Noit proves to be a real challenge. But even in his bloody and beat-up state, Hajime's desire to survive and make it back home burns furiously as he launches his own series of attacks at Noit. He puts his giant lightning mecha sword to purpose, delivering a fatal strike at Noit. Plummeting to her death, Noit's stoic expressions remain unchanged. As per Hajime's request, Tio is carrying Aiko on her back to keep her out of harm's way. But after watching everyone around her risk their lives fuels her desire to contribute in some ways. After wrapping up his business with Noit, Hajime regroups with Tio and Aiko at what seems to be the ruins of the church. Bewildered by the destruction, Tio informs Hajime that Aiko helped her catalyze her magic, which resulted in the demolition of the church. As the realization of murdering people dawns upon Aiko, she breaks down into tears. Hajime offers her a comforting hug as she continues to weep. A mysterious man appears at the ruins, indicating the group to follow him. Believing that they conquered the labyrinth of the Divine Mountains, Hajime follows after him and unlocks the magic of another labyrinth. Meanwhile, at the castle, Shizuku and her friends walk directly into a deadly trap set by one of their own. While her classmates get slaughtered, Shizuku herself gets stabbed by a knife. Eri appears from the shadows, cackling like a deranged villain. After ambushing her classmates, Eri's deviousness is finally out in the open. Flabbergasted by Eri's complete change of character, Shizuku questions the reason behind her betrayal. Eri gives a passionate kiss to an injured and confused Kuki. She reveals her desire to make Kuki hers and hers alone is what drove her to side with the demons. With a sweet little necromancy spell up her sleeve, Eri managed to make the entire royal court submit to her. After Kuki shouts at her to stop or he won't forgive her, Eri replies by saying that she knows how kind and caring he is, so to turn him into her personal boy toy, she'll kill him first and then revive him. Eri addresses Shizuku, disclosing her hatred towards her and Shirasaki. As she's about to kill her, Shirasaki and Liliana come to the rescue just in time. After Shirasaki magically heals everyone and equips them with extra strength, Hiyama plunges his sword in her chest while also revealing his feelings for her. After all, killing your crush is easier than confessing your love. Free from shackles, Kuki and the rest battle with Eri's knights. Soon, Team Hajime joins the battle scene. While the women tend to Shirasaki, who appears lifeless, Hajime beats up Hiyama, and when he's about to direct his wrath towards Eri, Freyed and his demon army holds him back. Equipped with new magic, Hajime wipes out Freyd's army within seconds. Liliana tells the events that followed during the war waged by the demon army. As it turns out, Eri colluded with the demons for her own personal gains, and when Hajime massacred Freyd's army, she managed to escape alongside Freyd. With the royal capital now secure, the heroes are getting their workout done. Just when Kuki expresses that he doesn't wish for Hajime to reappear, Hajime and his girls appear from the sky. Sorry, Kuki, but you're just a side character. She bombards Hajime with questions, who nervously says that Shirasaki is safe and sound but looks a little different now. Shizuku's confusion is quickly answered by Shirasaki, who emerges in Noit's body. After having a sentimental reunion, Hajime reveals that Shirasaki wished to get stronger, so they transferred her soul in Noit's repaired body through God's New Age magic. Later, when Hajime reveals that they were all summoned for Ehit's personal enjoyment, Kuki loses his temper and yells at Hajime for delaying such crucial information. Hajime shuts him up by saying that he simply wouldn't have believed him. Later at the dining table, Hajime discloses his plan of exploring a new labyrinth, which results in his classmates nagging him to take them with him as they wish to become stronger for individual reasons. Thinking that it's a good idea, Hajime agrees to help them. When dawn comes, Hajime is ready to begin a new journey with his girls and classmates. The end. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe and hit the notifications button for more amazing videos.